Hello and welcome to a new edition of Political Smackdown. We're glad to be with you again. It's been an eventful week in Cleveland County. We have our regular crew, Andy Dedman, Wes Westmoreland, and our almost regular substitute, Roger Harris. Mr. Harris, thank you for being with us again.
As they say at Chick-fil-A, it's always a pleasure.
My pleasure to say, right? Well, it was an eventful week. We're going to start in Kings Mountain, where they had a very interesting and what would be the right word? Not exciting, contentious council meeting in many respects on April the 14th. It started really at citizen recognition time, and there were like 6 people that spoke. One had a kind of a personal issue, and one was complimentary of the city, but 4 were very critical of something that was coming up on the agenda that we're about to get to. And that was a censure motion that was passed to look into censuring council member Scott Neisler. It appeared that a majority of the city council there believes that Mr. Neisler has tried to negotiate proposed data center stuff and done other things that should be to the manager. Mr. Neisler read a statement denying all of that. And actually our local paper that sometimes doesn't get these types of things anymore has a pretty good article on April 14th in the Shelby Star about that meeting. The motion was eventually made at that meeting to censure Mr. Neisler. The city attorney, Mickey Corey, longtime city attorney there, had asked them to hire outside counsel that specializes in governmental law, because this is something the city of Kings Mountain has never done, is censure a member. After Mr. Neisler's statement, another council member, a new council member, I believe his name is Tyler Fletcher, said that he could not vote to spend up to $20,000 to look into censuring a council member, that they had a lot of needs greater than that in his opinion. But it did pass 5-2, and it appears that Mr. Neisler is going to be censured. It's not certain because they haven't had it. Andy, get us started and tell us sort of what the issue is that you see it that the rest of the city council, or 5 of them, have with Mr. Neisler.
Well, it was kind of interesting. I watched it online, and people started jumping up, citizens recognition, and they were bad mouthing everything that I guess the city manager's ever done. I mean, just watching a city council meeting and a school board meeting broke out. So, and that's pretty bad now. I mean, the school board had a meeting this week, and it was kumbaya.
Yeah, don't get ahead of us. We're going to talk about it.
All right. But anyway, it was just difficult for me to understand why they can't, at least as adults, actually try to work together to an extent. It's almost like high school again, and everybody's trying to screw over the other guy, and it's the citizens of Kings Mountain that are getting left out of it, Mike. I mean, how can you get anything done if you hate each other all the time?
Well, that council chamber was at capacity, I'm told, and you could tell there were a lot of people there from the applause that the speakers got.
That's right.
But it was pretty interesting, though, and I don't know exactly how much of this is really happened with Scott. I don't know really, is it to the point that he needs to be censored or censured? I really don't know. It's just the jury's still out, and I think we'll find out more.
Well, there's a picture of Mr. Neisler. Mr. Neisler was longtime mayor of Kings Mountain, and about 2.5 years ago, he narrowly lost to the current mayor, Rob Wagman. And then last year, he started out with 5 people running for 1 seat at large in Kings Mountain. 1 dropped out, but with 4 in the race, Mr. Neisler got nearly 50% of the vote, which is actually pretty darn good with 4 people in the race. But he has a long history of serving the city of Kings Mountain. And Roger, you've watched that meeting, I know, and or at least parts of it that we're talking about. What's your take on what in the world's going on?
Well, I think the first thing we need to talk about is what does censure mean and what does censure not mean. It does not, even if somebody is censured, it does not remove them from office. Can't do that. It does not prevent them from attending meetings. It does not prevent them from voting. They are still members of whatever political body they were members of prior to that, in this case the City of Kings Mountain Council. So it doesn't do any of those things. It's kind of a grown-up version of timeout. It's a formal reprimand, and you tell the person that you ought not have done whatever it is that you think that they did or they failed to do. But it doesn't change the makeup of the council or the voting authority or any of that kind of stuff. They said that they wanted to hire counsel. Well, the Cleveland County Board of Education censured a couple of members, whatever that was, 3 years ago, I guess, or something. And it happens occasionally. There was a little town called Hope Mills or something near Fayetteville that censured somebody last fall that had a racist remark. But it's just kind of a formal reprimand. I don't understand the value of $20,000 for such a thing. It just seems to me the powder's not worth the shot.
Well, Wes, you've watched it as we all have, and it's one of the more interesting things that's happened in Cleveland County in a long time in local government.
Well, and I think censure should be rare and necessary. I don't know whether this is. Censor, however, I think could happen more often in the case, particularly today, of Mr. Harris's shirt.
Are we going to have to hire outside counsel to investigate?
That's right.
I don't think we need an investigation on that. How unfortunate, and Mr. Harris, you went through all this. I guess the bottom line question is, after you do this, how do you move forward after? You've still got the member there with all the voting privileges of any other board member, and I think that is going to be the difficulty, and we've seen this play out with the school board. It just creates an awful lot of difficulty unless there's a very clear-cut reason, and that we'll see what the investigation says. But Mike, I think, one, I'll give some credit to the mayor. A meeting like that is very difficult to run. There's no question about that. I think it may be helpful if he would utilize the gavel a little bit more. I thought some of the comments were maybe a little bit more abrasive than they might needed to have been. I also think Mr. Neisler made a strong case. I appreciated his thoughtful remarks, but of course that was his perspective. We'll see more through this investigation. The fact is, I don't think any of us know what's going on behind the scenes, and there's obviously
there
more.
is a formal complaint, I think, and I don't know that we don't have a copy of that. So there may well be more than all we really know at this point is the statement that Mr. Neisler made in his own defense.
And I think there's got to be more there than we know about for this to have gone this far, it seems to me. I also think the manager is in an impossible situation. I can't imagine the difficulty in dealing with this, some of the comments that were directed to him. I really, that's a tough position to be in. He works for the council.
Well, clearly he did lose his temper in that meeting. Accusations on certain social media pages claim that he cursed the woman. I don't know that he did. I can't read lips, but it was obvious that he was animated and aggravated at somebody for something they had said.
Well, I think it's also obvious the citizens are very frustrated, particularly on the heels of the windfall tax increase that the city's taking by not lowering their rate any at all.
2 revals in a row, plus raised it a nickel in between.
But
And
then
so-
you got bad water on top of
I
that.
start saying the water issue has been kind of an ongoing thing as well.
And so I
Y'all
don't
think
blame
that-
the citizens for being mad and trying to maybe even
Y'all
find a
think there's something
scapegoat.
in the water that's causing all this?
Apparently,
I'm not touching that.
but Mike, I agree. Councilman Fletcher, I think, made the best point. Is this worth going forward? Is this worth spending $20,000 on this investigation? I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, 5 members feel like it is, but at the end of the day, they've got to come together. They've got to govern a city.
Well,
They've got to
that's-
have a budget.
you know,
that's the
They've
problem,
got to
though.
move things
I
forward.
mean, they're not, and that's the problem. I mean, you got staff quitting right and left. They lost the assistant city manager. He's gone. He's about gone. I mean, just they're all dropping like flies because they
And
just
the
don't want to
water,
work in it.
the
Yeah, the water
guy they hired
director.
to run the water plant quit after like 7 months.
Right.
They've got a turnover problem in the city. There's no
Well, it's
question about
deeper than
that.
turnover.
It is.
Turnover is a symptom.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know what will happen in Kings Mountain. I do. It's regretful for the city. It's regretful for the whole county. This is the primary, largest growth area in the county with the casino, the I-85, the access to the Charlotte Airport. Kings Mountain has always been in the catbird seat for economic development in Cleveland County.
It's the gateway from Charlotte.
And that it is. It's
But
just,
Mike, you've been in local government most of your adult life. How in the world are they going to be able to hire somebody to come to Kings Mountain from city manager on down to department heads? I mean, who would want to walk? That just bumfuzzles me that they would get themselves in that big a mess.
When they hired the current manager a year ago, it was at $250,000. And according to reports, it's a 3-year contract. I'm sure if he could be fired for cause, even in that type of a contract. Plus, I think a $9,100 car allowance, and I'm sure he went back and got the medical insurance. He had it in retirement anyway, I guess, Roger, as a state employee. He worked 38 years, Todd did, the manager in Gastonia, and retired there as a deputy city manager. Y'all might remember 3 years ago, he was interim manager for Cleveland County for 6 or 7 months between managers. It's a tough situation, but to answer your question, they'll have to pay a lot to get a good manager if this one leaves or is fired. And I don't know that there's any inclination of a majority of council to fire him, but I'm sure he's probably frustrated. And he's only been the full-time manager for 1 year this month. And he's
That's right.
the interim manager for 3 months after that. And remember, before this, the last city manager had a 2-year contract, and he alienated so many people in Kings Mountain, the city council would not renew his contract. And he stayed till December 31st of 24, so.
But I still think the legal fees is going to be a bigger deal. It's one thing to censure somebody, but to spend $20,000 to do it. Or if they decide not to censure, they still spent $20,000. So either way, the taxpayers are kind of on the muddy end of this stick.
They are, but at least with an investigation, hopefully we get to some real facts and some real truth and some real understanding of why this is or is not necessary.
Well, the only thing in Cleveland County we have that you alluded to, Roger, is about 3 years ago this month, I guess. It's when the incident happened at Burns High School.
Right.
And the Cleveland County School Board wound up censuring Danny Blanton and Ronnie Grigg. Now, I don't know what you can do at the city council level, but they also lost some privileges for a period of time.
They lost some ceremonial privileges, but their privileges and their rights as board members still continued.
Were they removed from committees for
Yes,
those 90
they
days
were.
also,
Yes.
I
Yes.
believe?
Yep.
So I suppose the city could remove Scott from some of the liaisons that city councils have to their boards and stuff. Different members are liaison to various boards. I don't know what will happen. It's regretful. I don't think anybody doubts Mr. Neisler's commitment to the city of Kings Mountain.
No.
And I think even these folks that are censuring him just think he's overstepped the bounds of what a council member is supposed to do. And I will tell you, in that form of government, which I served in for 12 years, same form of government, an individual council member or even the mayor does not run the city. The city council as a whole makes policy and hires a city manager to run the day-to-day operations of the city. And there is sometimes a gray area, and that was kind of, as I heard Mr. Neisler the other night, I thought, well, this is kind of gray. He's saying he just tried to get the right people, get citizens to the right people in the city, and others are saying there's evidence that he went too far. So I guess the investigation will resolve that, at least in somebody's mind.
But a gray area is a difficult time to,
A gray area is a difficult
Sensitive.
place, and I've asked people, is the juice worth the squeeze, is the way I
Yep.
have said it. But I don't know that it will be, but time will tell. Well, we wish you the best in Kings Mountain. We hope this all works out and that everyone can get on the same page of moving the city forward. When we come back from break, we also had a Cleveland County School Board meeting this week. My goodness, it was a little bit different kind of meeting than we're used to, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
Want to stay connected to everything happening at Cleveland Community College? C19's monthly show, In the Loop, brings you the stories, updates, and the highlights that matter most right from campus. From program spotlights and upcoming events to alumni interviews and college updates, In the Loop keeps you informed and engaged. Catch home game schedules for all CCC athletics, plus fun and meaningful conversations with the Yeti along the way. Whether you're a student, employee, alumni, or supporter of CCC, this is your inside look at life on campus. Tune in monthly on C19 and stay in the loop with Cleveland Community College.
So in case you happen to not watch the show or keep up with what's going on with Cleveland County school system, one of the issues really for years now has been what to do with the old Marion School, elementary school in Shelby that was closed down, what, Roger, 3 years ago?
I
Something
think
like
3 years
that.
ago.
And basically they had tried to sell it to a nonprofit called One More, One Less. That did not work out. We won't get into the details of that. So a couple months ago, I guess it was, the board voted, or a month ago in March, the board voted 5-4 to put that school up for the upset bid process. And they did get an initial bid. It was out for 10 days. They got an initial bid of $253,000. And we're now in the upset bid period. And as we tape, I'm told that as of the day before we tape, in the 4 days since that bid was accepted, they have not gotten an upset bid. Mr. Harris, tell us more about that process for a school system. You're a former school board member and principal. Tell us a little bit about it and what happens from here.
Well, the process is that you offer the property to the county first to see if the county is interested. If they want it, it's county property. Then by courtesy, you ordinarily offer it to a city or a municipality that is around. And then after that, it's kind of up to the school board. It's like if you own a house, what am I going to do with it? The school system could have elected just to hold on to the property for as long as they wanted to, or to sell it. And you know what you mentioned, there was some talk about giving it, or not giving it, but selling it. I think $140,000 to Preservation North Carolina, the One More, One Less. That created some controversy that we've talked about before. And so they went with door number 2. A lot of folks in the community thought there was a door number 3, that the school might reopen. As it turned out, what we had said on this program and others in the area, there never was a door number 3. It was always just door number 1 and door number 2. And the One More, One Less, I think, got frustrated with the process and walked away, which left only door number 2. And now there is a bid for $253,000 to sell the property, and I think that's the only door left. If they close that door, then I don't know what kind of mess they get into there. But the thing that surprised me, Mike, was we had a normal school board meeting. I ordinarily get my popcorn and sit down and wait for the circus to get started and the clowns to come out. And I thought, well, what school board am I watching? These were grown-ups having intelligent conversations and nobody yelling at anybody. It was a normal school board, and it actually looked good for them to do that. Stephen Fisher brought the bid to everybody's attention, asked for questions, and surprisingly, no questions. And then when it came time to make a motion, the guy that had been leading the charge, Danny Blanton, actually made the motion to sell. And it passed 9-0. I did notice one board member pretty hesitant about putting his hand up, but he did. and but it sold 9-0, and it was like we'd been fighting this war, and then all of a sudden it just went out with a whimper.
Well, Wes, I think we were all a little bit surprised that a month or so earlier we had a 5-4 vote to put it up for sale. Then the 4 that voted not to put it up for sale voted to accept the initial bid.
Yeah, I don't know that I was surprised. This is what
I wasn't either. I was shocked.
This is what they wanted to do, is put it up for auction and presumably get more money than they would have with the deal they had with One More, One Less. So it's in process. It's going to be interesting to see if there is an upset bid, who that's from. Does that come? Is there more than one? Will Mr. Allen raise the stakes on that one again? Don't know, but you know, the members that were concerned about the initial plan got what they wanted. They're going to get more money for the school that will go into the CCS
general fund, yeah.
general fund. So,
Well, and Andy, it works somewhat similar to what you and I have seen at the courthouse on foreclosures, or at the county on foreclosures for taxes, but it's a little bit different, because if you want to upset this bid and the 10 days is not run out, you go to the school administrative office to do it for their finance people, and it becomes a public record. And it starts that 10 days over. Theoretically, it could go on for months.
I've seen that go on.
You have to raise it $100 plus, I believe it is 5%, or it might be 10%.
I think it's 10%.
but now the board can reject the bid, right?
And at the end, the board could still come back and either accept it 9-0, 5-4, or reject it if they still didn't think they were getting enough. The question, Roger, is do they just reopen door number 2 again if they do that?
I think so, and I don't know. I don't know that the board, it would be wise to do that. It's time to put this issue behind them and move on. There's other things in the school system we need to talk about. This has been an albatross around their neck for a long time. They've got an exit ramp here. They need to take the exit ramp.
Andy?
Well, I can't help but think, Mike, maybe the ones that voted against selling it, maybe they've got more information than they had before and found out maybe this is the only way to do it. I mean, if they were going to hold on to something, I would have rather see if they could have somehow held on to Graham. But the county knows what that's worth. And the size, the topography, and like, what was it, like 30 acres?
25.
25
Yeah,
acres.
it's a big spread.
And they're Marion School, the county doesn't have a need for
And
it.
the topography is pretty good.
Oh, it's really
At
good.
Graham, not Marion.
At Graham.
Yeah, Graham.
But Marion, this county has no need for it. So, but what people need to realize that live over there, that maybe by the time this is all said and done, they may have wanted that adoption outfit to be there over what could be there. I mean, they could go up there and start slapping houses up, because it is residential.
Andy, I'm not a developer, but I know this much. Depending on your use, it's worth to you to buy in the condition it's in, old building with need for a lot of repairs and upgrades, or to be demolished. Depends on your use. If you're going to demolish it, you better know what that costs. You better know what the city zoning ordinance allows you to do on that location. And that is in the strictest city residential zone, R10. And that's basically single family houses. Through the UDO, you might can do a few other things like institutional, a church or a school can be in that zone. But, you know, it looks to me like it's big enough to put a cul-de-sac from Forest Hill Drive and go down there and get some number north of a dozen, maybe 15 or 20 houses, maybe. But they wouldn't be houses that would look like what's in that neighborhood.
No, it will
That's
not.
right, and that would be a problem.
I think those neighbors may be wishing they'd taken door number 1 now.
That's why I said what I said, because they're gonna come back to, that's
We
what haunt them.
we do compliment the school board for working together on that this week and making the meeting boring. You made Kings Mountain the best show in town.
I don't know if they need any help with that this week, but
No, I don't think they did either.
All right. Well, the General Assembly is back in session this coming week as we tape, but this week the House's Committee on Property Tax Reform that's been meeting since December did pass out of committee a bill to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot this year that, if passed, would allow the General Assembly clear-cut authority to set property tax growth limits in the future. It would not impact the past. Whereas like in our county, Kings Mountain did not reduce their rate at all, and the biggest reval increase in a long, long time, if not ever. Where Shelby only went about halfway. Where all around the state you've seen people up in arms, and Wes, we know why they're doing this. They're getting phone calls and emails and texts and cussings back in the district, and people wanting them to do something to keep property taxes under control. What do you think's going to happen, and will it turn out good or bad?
Well, it's not just that, it's observation. When a lot of these places are doing so much, it doesn't take a phone call to know that that's burdensome. I think eventually it's going to pass. It's going to be interesting to see if it gets on the ballot in November, but I would wager probably will. And the General Assembly will come back quickly and tie it to inflation and growth.
Well, Andy, the real question is, it takes at least one Democrat in the House, and if any Republican doesn't vote for it in the Senate, it takes one there or more, and could take more in the House if there's any Republicans against it. Will any Democrats vote
Yes.
for it? You think so?
I think Representative Cunningham has got a lot on her mind, and she wants to go out in a bang.
As well as Willingham.
Yeah, and Willingham, forgot about him. So, yeah, I mean, they have no reason not to vote with the Republicans. They've already lost their job.
But Roger, I got to think Democratic legislators in some of these kind of not as blue districts are probably hearing the same thing in
I think
some
so.
of their areas about how high it's getting.
I think so, and I think everybody at this table and everybody watching can acknowledge that property taxes are probably the most disliked tax that there is. Nobody likes taxes.
There's a Harper poll that just came out in March showing 76+% of the people say it's either a minor or a major burden now to pay their taxes, property taxes.
But you know, it's a significant shift in power from the state, from local to the state, and you know, I'm just not sure that people in Raleigh should be telling local government how to spend their money when they can't even get a budget in their own house. You know, there's an idiom about people in glass houses.
Andy?
Well, I think when you get right down to it, I'm sort of like Roger. You're getting into something here that you're hamstringing a lower form of government than what you have. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I think something's needed. They do have to be careful that they don't do anything that harms for counties, public safety or education. And in cities, fire departments and police departments, I mean, they've got to be careful about how they do it. But I do think there's been enough irresponsibility in local governments that something needs to be done. And while it takes 3/5 of both houses to put it on the ballot, it only takes 50% plus one to pass the amendment. Lightning round, Andy.
All right, let's real quick talking about General Assembly coming back, and as it does every couple of years, they went and got all the campaign reports and started going through to see what they did with their campaign money. And this thing has tightened up a lot since I was there, Wes was there. It used to be you could do anything. There was one guy, he and his wife went to Ireland using campaign funds. Somebody bought a car. But now things are tighter than that. I mean, let's face it, they're not making less $14,000 a year, and they're in one of the highest priced places to live. The cost of living there's awful. So yeah, I think it's time we revisit and start paying the average, which is around $43,000.
Wes?
Mike, a man in Minnesota, of all places, accused of orchestrating an $11 million Medicaid fraud, skipped a scheduled court appearance and apparently skipped the country. He was granted a $150,000 bond that would have forced him to give up his passport, or that allowed him to keep his passport, rather than a $50,000 bond required to give it up. So in effect, Mr. Saeed paid $150,000 to keep $11 million he stole from Medicaid-funded home health agencies.
All right, Roger.
After Pam Bondi was fired by Donald Trump, he named his personal attorney, Todd Blanche, as acting AG. A few days ago, Blanche was asked if he'd be appointed permanent AG, and Blanche said that whether Trump appointed him, demoted him, or fired him, he would just tell the president, "Sir, I love you. No matter what, I love you." I don't know if I'll ever be asked to come back as a substitute on this program, but Mike, Wes, Andy, I love you guys.
Thank you, guys. Y'all come back and join us again next week for Political Smackdown.